Hey, folks, welcome back to Indaba Africa. Chris here in central Pennsylvania. Welcome around the world, wherever you find yourself today, in rapidly undemocratic Hong Kong or Singapore, Malaysia, Saudi Arabia, UK, anywhere in the UK, whether that's Northern Ireland, Wales, Scotland, or England, in the Republic of Ireland, on the Emerald Isle, or somewhere in Africa, whether it's in Uganda, Tunisia, Liberia, Botswana, Malawi, Nigeria, Mauritania, Uganda, and Ethiopia. Just a few of the places I've lived over the years. Anyway, folks, welcome aboard Dumela, Botswana, Sawubona, South Africa, Hotsihilijang. How are folks doing? Good to see you all tuning in. What do you guys think of this hour for a Stray Voltage? Let me ask that question. Is this a good hour to do it? Lots of other people horning in on times that I had that were really kind of wide open, but lots of YouTubers out there, and so trying to find the right spot. But the reason today was less so for the right spot and more so to do with the fact that I have a guest on tonight. And rather than do Stray Voltage and then expect people to stay up well past midnight to discuss the guest, I decided to do the Stray Voltage earlier today. So hence this time, noon on the East Coast of the United States, even a civil hour out on the West Coast for the West Coast lefties, 9 a.m. But for folks in Botswana and South Africa, it is 6 p.m. So if you have a job, if you're able to return to work despite the pandemic and the lockdown requirements, then perhaps you've beaten the traffic, and if there is traffic, and gotten home by 6 p.m. So I thought that this would be a good time. Well, Gareth says it's better than the 9:30 time. Well, the 9:30 time is tied to something very specific, so I don't know that I'm going to abandon that. I might just keep that, but I'm just looking at maybe I do an earlier program like this. It might work out better. Certainly would make my day a bit easier because I really have to schedule my day around the streams. Even the Stray Voltage, it's not simply just come on and talk about things. Actually involves some research and some preparation, even the Stray Voltage. Yes, there are occasions where a breaking news story happens and I'll jump on and talk about it and bring my experience and past analytical work to the discussion. But most of these are not simply just sitting around with a bag of Cheetos in my lawn chair or my lounge chair discussing topics. Actually put a little bit of time research into it. Okay, folks like this time. Okay, cool. Well, maybe we'll do a Stray Voltage or set up a program at this time then. Yeah, it is a really crazy time in the news there, Kyle. Actually, absolutely true. Melanie Todd says by 9:30 sleep. Okay. Well, Melanie, I want to keep you here, so I guess we'll have to do an earlier stream. We'll see how that goes. Right. I was doing the 5 o'clock stream during the lockdown, but with a lot of people actually able to go back to work in South Africa and even in Botswana now, that has not been an ideal time. Plus, other people have been sliding into that time slot, and I don't want to compete. It's not about competition. I'm just trying to deliver thoughtful, cogent analysis and discussion about current topics, events, and future developments in geostrategic issues around the world, but particularly when it comes to Africa and the United States. And the Stray Voltage, for those who've been following, is tended, because of lockdown, to be focused pretty heavily on South Africa, but not exclusively. Those of you who've been with me for a while know that I cover a range of topics. Got an email from somebody mentioning that they remember when I did a live stream and it was me and that person, one other person live stream. That was a while ago, yes, just a couple months ago, actually. So interesting. But finding the right time slot to do this always matters. And of course, it's got to be something consistent. And since my audience is available at this time on the East Coast of the U.S. and early evening South Africa, it seems like a good time to do it. Anyway, so what I want to say is I do have a guest on tonight. Marlaise. Marlaise will be on my guest. For those who know, may have seen the viral video that took off like a rocket a couple years ago. She was riding on a rugby pitch and on a bicycle. I'll be asking her about why she was riding on a rugby pitch on a bicycle to begin with. But anyway, she was riding on a rugby pitch on a bicycle when she ran into the goalpost with her bicycle. Her mother was filming this. About 18 seconds of it became a viral video. So she'll be on the program tonight at 9 p.m. South Africa time, Botswana time, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'll be talking to her about that experience, also about the novelty of becoming an instant celebrity, becoming a YouTube celebrity, an internet celebrity. What was that like, especially as a young lady? And what's happened to her since then? She was involved in a music video, which she wasn't too happy about. Anyway, so after that, what happens with instant celebrity, and where does it go from there? Well, she's currently living in the Netherlands, where she's working as an au pair, and will be heading back to Southern Africa sometime soon, assuming there are flights and lockdown restrictions are lifted and that countries allow folks to come back. although she is a national of Namibia, I believe, and so she should be able to return to Namibia if she can get a flight. But anyway, so she'll be back in a few months to Southern Africa. She'll be appearing on television in South Africa here very soon. I don't know if I was supposed to let that out of the bag. But anyway, I've shared that. So look for that. But Marlies will be my guest tonight on Indaba Africa, the Chris Wyatt Africa channel. So hopefully you guys will enjoy that. And a little bit of news about tomorrow's guest. Running into some scheduling conflicts. I had a commitment from Nadine. As far as I know now, she'll still be on, but I'm getting indication that might not be the case for tomorrow. If in fact it is the case, we'll reschedule her. And my humblest and sincerest apologies. I don't like clickbait, and definitely it was not clickbait. I had a confirmed date for her to appear. As far as I know, she'll still be here tomorrow, so I'll be planning on that. If it doesn't work out, then I'll go on briefly and do a live stream if she's not available. But until I get positive confirmation that she's not available, I'll move forward as if she'll be tomorrow. So I hope that does take place because I've advertised that all over, including on Facebook, which is a site I don't use very often, but I did tell people on Facebook and South Africa groups here in the U.S. that she would be on tomorrow. So let's hope that it works out. Anyway, so there you go. Let me see what comments we got here, and I'll welcome folks into the stream. All right, so let me get back here at the beginning and see who we've got. Luke, the lead slinger's here. It's all right, Luke. Bit cooler today, overcast, cloudy, so the temperature dropped about 20 degrees Fahrenheit. So it went from 34 Celsius to 22 Celsius, much more pleasant. Hey, Erica, good to see you there. Yanni's here. Good to see you, Yanni. Linda van Rooyen, welcome. Lynn, good to see you. Raptor Man, hey, I don't think I've seen you recently. Lido is back. Welcome back, Lido. I don't know where you were at, but welcome back. Hopefully it didn't scare you away. Maybe you've just been busy. Fair enough. Let's see. I'm well, thank you, Lido. Sky Greg T, good to see you again. Christoph is here. The DL Freighter watcher, welcome from Michigan. Yeah, DL Freighter. Are you in the Upper Peninsula or are you in the center of Michigan? If you don't mind sharing. I spent a summer at Grayling once, which was an interesting experience, Grayling with the National Guard. Nezi Wildner says, please pray for the elephants in Botswana. Yeah, it's really sad what's happening there, and no one has an answer for it. So hopefully it'll be sorted out. Hey, Tercia, good to see you there. Gareth, use name, Hoynad. Raptor Man, what are we talking about today? COVID-19, bubonic plague, corruption, oppression. Yeah, 2020 is your birthday. Well, my birthday is not till the end of the year, so hopefully this nonsense will be sorted out by then, but I wouldn't hold my breath. Well, we're going to talk about a few news developments. So did anybody notice that the president of Brazil has tested positive for COVID-19? Not the first global leader. Remember, Boris Johnson also tested positive for it earlier in the year and recovered from it despite a scare. Yeah, it's not surprising that Bolsonaro has tested positive. The guy is, he's like he's at an orgy. He's out seeing people all the time, touching everybody amongst crowds. He was bound to get it, taking no precautions. And of course, Brazil is one of the places where this is a wildfire. The virus is raging in Brazil, raging in India, and a few other places. Daryl Crouch says, fancy seeing you here. I'm guessing, Daryl, you must have been over with Roman, where I was at a little bit ago. Melanie Todd, hey, good to see you. What else we got here? Nigel's here. This time is fine for me. The late edition maybe start at 9 if you can. Yeah, okay, Nigel, there's a reason I did it at 9:35. The 5, even if I did it at 9 or 9:05, 9:35, was just something different. It was unique to my channel. And it wasn't exactly original. Back in the 1980s here, the TBS, the Turner Broadcasting System, the network that belonged to Ted Turner, which is now whatever channel it is, they changed their name, TBS. But TBS always did this thing where they started their programs at 5 minutes past the hour. It was just their shtick, and it was weird, but people got accustomed to it. So I did the 9:35 because I figured then people, if instead of rushing to get in front of the screen or get your phone on or do whatever you're doing, by the bottom of the hour, that you get an extra 5 minutes, and it seemed to make sense. So that's what I did. But the 9:35, the reason for that is because there's a lot of people who are watching my stream who also watch Ronaldo, and they've been watching Ronaldo longer than my stream, so I don't want to intrude on that. And Ronaldo does a good job at times at cutting off at the hour, but sometimes his streams run longer. In fact, a lot of times they run longer. And if I start my stream at 9 o'clock and a third of my audience is coming from Ronaldo, then I will not have a third of the audience. People will come in. They'll say, what have we talked about so far? I'll be rehashing things. And then a third of the audience will leave because they've already heard it. So I decided on 9:35. When Ronaldo suspended, to much fanfare, he made a big deal about when Ronaldo suspended his broadcast at 2 o'clock during lockdown, that would be 10 o'clock here on the East Coast, I said, hey, well, if Ronaldo's not going to be there, let me check it out. So I did it. Had a really good audience. Had like over 100 people in for the live stream. It was fantastic because people were like, well, Ronaldo's not here. I want to go listen to a stream now. So people came to the stream. They enjoyed it. But then after a couple of days, Ronaldo came back, and I'm gonna challenge him. That's a slot that he's had for a long time, and we have similar programs, not quite the same. Mine covers the world and Africa, not just South Africa. But I didn't want to do that, so I backed away from that time, and I went back to doing the 9:35. Yeah, that's the reason I do that, just so that makes sense for me. So let me see what else we got here. Okay, so Yanni, oh, he's got the special feature with Marlies. Thank you, Yanni, for putting that in there. Yeah, set reminders. That's helpful. Not a Lions jersey, Lido. I do not have a Lions jersey. I have a Lions sweatshirt, but I can't find it. It disappeared when things got shipped here from Ethiopia. But I don't know if somebody stole it or it's in a box still after several years. But it was one of my favorite pullovers, my sweatshirt. This is a Gloucester jersey. There you go. Gloucester. X-Blades, and then here's Gloucester right here. There you go. So Gloucester. Yep. This is. I picked this up during the Rugby World Cup in 2015 because the last game I went to was in Gloucester, the U.S. versus Japan, and I picked it up in one of the sports stores the next day before I left town because I'm just a rugby fan. So why not get a Gloucester? I was at their stadium. Yes, Kyle says, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Yeah, folks, if you're not a subscriber to the channel, go ahead. It costs absolutely nothing. Unlike super chats or channel memberships, subscription is free. And some weird things going on with subscriptions on my channel. I don't know what's going on, or it's just my imagination. But anyway, but yeah, feel free to subscribe to the channel. There's Hank Adrinze. Good to see you again. So we're going from Roman's live stream straight into Chris's. Okay. Jacques, there you are. Jacques, I sent you emails, man. You sent me a message, or was it email, or it was or WhatsApp or something like that. But Jacques, you sent me a message about some Springbucks, and I responded. But you've been sparse the last few days. I hope you're okay. Hope nothing's going on and you're well. So yeah, I sent that to you. Check it out. Yes, Christoph, that's right. That's right, Marlies. Jacques, yes, I'm still alive. Doc Baker says, I watched President Trump's full Rushmore speech. It made me feel proud of my own heritage, not patriotic about my country, my family's participation. Yeah, I haven't seen the whole thing yet, but the clips I've seen have been brilliant. And it's just hysterical to watch the New York Times, the Washington Compost, the New York Slimes, the Washington Compost, the dark and brooding speech. Divisive. What are you talking about divisive? You clowns are the ones dividing this society, not Trump. Anyway, waiting for responses. Oh, okay. Thanks, Jacques. Appreciate that. Appreciate it. Good deal. But you didn't respond back, so I thought something happened to you. Look, guys, if we're in touch and you're in South Africa and you say, hey, I'm doing something, I don't hear from you a few days, I get a little concerned, It's not like you're living in Peoria if you're in South Africa. I always worry about people's safety, so... no, it's not the Lions, Ranger Jakes. Deborah Olivier says, glad I can go from morning shot to you, Chris. The extra 5 minutes gives me a chance to fill my wine glass. Okay, well, maybe I'll make it 12:05 instead of 12 o'clock or 6:05. Looking good. Well, thank you, Lynn. Okay, Dr. Boy says, good to see you, Dr. Boy. You popped in yesterday, I think, but I hadn't seen you in a while, so I'm glad to see you back. Did you change your avatar? It looks different. Kyle says, Mitsubishi sponsorship couldn't have been a better placement. Yeah, wasn't Ramon talking about Mitsubishis? Or the Subarus. I'm not sure what he was talking about. Yeah, Garrett says I'm center right. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. I think I'm more in the center, but certainly I am conservative, so I guess that's right of center. But anyway, that's a very wide spectrum. Erica says 9:35 is good for her. You moderate at Loving Life, so that means you can join afterwards. Okay, that's a good point, Erica. Like I said, I'd probably keep that program because, listen, there's a lot of night owls in Africa. Who are looking for something to do in the evening, and it's, Showmax, DSTV, nah, same movies over and over again. It gets old. And besides, you can't watch Leon Schuster. What are you going to do? So, yeah, there are night owls that like to just wrap up the day and have a conversation. It's kind of like their evening, comfort food. And it's a good time to do it, I think. So as long as I'm able to do it during lockdown anyway, that's the plan. Maybe if lockdown ever ends anywhere and I decide to go back into the formal workforce rather than run my consultancy, we'll see. But for now, that's the plan. Let me see. Kyle, okay. Garrett says you're center right. Ronaldo center. Already said that. Sorry. Ashley says, yeah, your stream is very different to the others. Well, thank you for that, Ashley. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's just trying to be original, just trying to be myself. Deborah Olivia says, glad. Oh, yeah, my stream just went back, or the chat went back. It's Pro 14 Gloucester. Looks a lot like the varsity jersey. Yeah, it does, Gareth, but it is Gloucester jersey. Christoph says, when viewers grow, time slots become competitive, like anchors fighting for the best spot. when Marlies will pass on her bicycle. Lynn says, please send me the WhatsApp number. Oh, for the group. Okay, Lynn, thank you. Yeah, the reason I asked for an email though is that I have a record of it. Look, folks, you understand, I worked in intelligence. I worked in the government. I was a commissioned officer. I conducted courts martials. I did investigations, espionage investigations. I did financial investigations. I did analytical work for the President of the United States. So the reason I asked folks to send me an email is because I want to have a record of it. See, if I mistakenly put you in the group and you're not happy about that, I just say, hey, look, I got an email from this person. They said they wanted to be in the group. That's why. I know it sounds a little, but it's a world full of legalities now, and so. But Lynn, I'll put you in there. Let me just make a note to put Lynn in the group. Add Lynn. And why people are like, why does Lynn get to join the group? Well, because Lynn is a member of Chris Wide Africa. You too can become a member of Chris Wide Africa simply by smashing that join button, and providing you have a credit card or your debit card signed up with Google, then you'll be okay. And you'll be charged a small fee, depending on which level you choose. The recruit team member is the lowest level. And for those in South Africa, it's just 10 Rand a month, $1.99 here in the U.S. So we pay 3 times the going price that South Africans pay for the same content. And then for the mid-level, which is platoon leader, that's $4.99 in the U.S. I forget what it was in South Africa, but I think it's 15 or 20 Rand or something like that. And then the top level is master and commander. So you too can join the WhatsApp members only group if you'd like. If you'd like to do that. That's why Lynn is going to be added to the group, and that's what the group is. It's not a group for subscribers, but rather for members to Chris Wide Africa. Anyway, so there you go. So speaking of which, since you guys brought that up, why not put the member goal up? Here we go. All right, there's the member goal, ladies and gentlemen. If it'll ever appear there, it's a little slow. There you go. So we have 63 members of Chris Wide Africa, shooting for 75 by the end of the week. We'll see if we get there. But anyway, again, I never envisioned, but I certainly did envision offering channel memberships as early as we did, but it was really cool that people asked for it. And it wasn't one time, it was a lot. So we did it. Anyway, so I put that up there. There's the goal. If anybody wants to help us meet that goal, feel free to do it. Sign up and become a member. There are some exclusive benefits, including the WhatsApp group for members, which is interesting. And also, and it's free for content as long as you're not disrespectful, rude, or bigoted or racist. You're okay to say what you like in there. And then also some special videos and streams for those folks. Also, I do some posts that are for members only. But anyway, back to this. Okay, so Stella, good to see you again, Stella. Welcome. In the summer, I don't have a schedule, so I catch the live streams when I can't. So whenever time you go on, I try to watch. Well, thank you. That's DL Freighter. Thank you so much for that. Ashley, 1805 would be perfect. Would that be a hairless cat for Dr. Evil? Perfect. Okay. Gareth says you work for a government department and keep records to have proof. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, I know. I failed to follow Hillary Clinton's example. I didn't destroy all of my emails. In fact, I have all of my emails burned to CD because those are subject to discovery. And I don't want to ever be accused of something and go to a trial in which somebody says, well, the state has this email in which on this date you claimed that you said this and that. I'm like, excuse me? No. Where did you get that email from? What's the provenance of that email? I have all of my emails from that time frame. Yeah, that's correct. And this is everything was on the server. That email never existed. Anyway, so that sort of thing. Listen, when you work in that sort of business, you know that whatever goes on the internet is on the internet. It doesn't go away, ladies and gentlemen. That's why these impetulant children who misbehave and act like little whiny, wet, nappy children writing disgusting and vile things, and then it comes back to haunt them. And they're like, what? Yes, it's subject to discovery. Anyway, so, and not just in a court case, but by trolls going back and looking through your history, trying to find anything to nail you with. And when you do misbehave, you certainly don't want to put it out there in the public domain. I'm just saying. For instance, we had a serving general officer in the National Guard who was an Army War College graduate who plagiarized his entire thesis. That's right. The entire thing was plagiarized. He was about to be appointed to a vacant seat for the U.S. Senate, and the leftist trolls went on a mission to find out everything they could about him because he was conservative. Ooh, conservatives are dangerous. And so they went after him. Now, I'm not defending the guy because what he did was reprehensible. No better than Sleepy Joe Biden and his plagiarism. But my actual instructor when I was a student at the War College was the investigating officer who investigated this case. And it was clear. I mean, there was almost nothing of original content from the author other than his name, then, and, but, a few sentences, little text moved around. basically lifted the entire thing from a few different sources. And it was obvious when they investigated. But anyway, he was exposed because he plagiarized, and they took his thesis and ran it through one of those online, paper reviewing things. And ding, 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 lights went off all over the place that this guy stole his information. And so he did not become a U.S. Senator. And he's kind of fallen into bad shape. I don't even know if he's in the Guard anymore. I'm sure he's been drummed out of the Guard by now. He was a general officer, 1-star. So I'm sure he's booted out, but he was a colonel when he was here. Anyway, yeah, we don't tolerate that sort of thing, plagiarism. And anyway, so just thought I'd share that little tidbit. So that's kind of why I keep track of what I say and what I do. All of the videos that I do on here, my live streams and prepared videos, I have multiple backups of these videos. I download them unless the system crashes within a day or two when I do it. But at least once a week, I'm backloading or downloading all these things and storing them in multiple locations, in multiple physical locations on multiple means of storage. Why? Because I know the games that people play with deep fakes and other things. So anyway, people don't use deep fakes. They just say, you said this and you didn't even say it. It's hilarious. Anyway, Christoph says members are forming a clique. Marius, good evening to you. Somehow I fell behind here in the chat. Let me try to catch up. See what I've missed here. Erica, not in the group yet. Erica, did you send me the email? I know you sent the long email that you sent me, Erica. Was that including your phone number? If it is, I apologize because I didn't get back to the email. I'll do that. Okay, I got to add Erica. Yeah, the group is a bit thinner than members. There's not close to 63 people in there. So anyway, my apologies, Erica, for holding off on that. I'll get you in there. It wasn't intentional, and it was not oversight. Yeah, Kyle is dinging on Christoph. Why aren't you a member? Yeah, Christoph creates his own emails groups at work. Well, yeah, everyone does that on Outlook. Pop, yeah, I didn't use a pop filter, Heinrich, because normally I kept my microphone over here, but lots of people having a go at me playing games with saying they couldn't hear anything. So I've changed it, and now I've set the microphone so that it only picks up things from here, hence the pop. I have a pop filter, but I don't like it, so I'll do better to not pop on the mic. Sorry about that, Heinrich. But we'll fix it. If it doesn't work, I'll just put the filter back on it. I don't like the filter. Like this live stream, only 37 likes, 66 on chat. Okay, well, come on, folks. Andre Prince, hey, good to see you there. Marius, smash the like button. Thank you. Whoa. Gosh, chat. Okay. Such a great community, I must say. Well, thank you, Kyle. I agree. We got a lot of fun here. And even our trolls can be a bit entertaining. Christian is kind of funny. Although we've probably upset the apple cart with Christian. I'm not sure he knows to be on now because it's not the standard time. So we'll see if Christian comes on. Kyle says, between all the streams, everybody's really brilliant. Kept me sane during the Yeah, Kyle, that's one of the reasons why I started streaming. I was doing prepared videos, and I was getting viewers. But again, I mean, I'd love to have 10 million viewers. That'd be fantastic. What a community that would be. But the intent was never to build a big community. The intent originally was simply to be an outlet for analytical production and for showing people things that I've done, like speeches and conferences and training events and things like that, to kind of showcase the strategic consultancy, hopefully to get some business. So what I was saying is that that was the idea with the channel, but the lockdown and what I realized it was going to do for people, especially in South Africa, I decided, let me do this stream and chat, give people something to watch and see if they like it. And it took off, and it took off really quickly. And for a month there, we were growing like gangbusters. But been a little fuzzy the last week or so. We'll see. Anyway, yeah. So I believe it was Will Rogers said, I'd never join a club that would have someone like me as a member. Like me as a member. Oh, got it. Okay. Okay. I had to sink in for a second there, Freightliner. DL Freighter. Yeah, that would like me as a member. Gotcha. Okay. Marabani, welcome. Good to see you there from the Netherlands. Okay. All right. Let me catch up here. Erica, yep, all my details in the email. Well, thank you, Erica. Sorry about that. I'll get you sorted out in a little bit later. After I get off here, I've got a call with Marlies to talk about our stream tonight. And then I also got to double check to see what's going on, if Nadine is actually backed out or if she's still available. We'll see what's going on. All right, so bit of a lag, like I'm watching a Chinese Kung Fu. Yeah, it's on your end, Raptor, man. Other folks aren't having that problem. He waved all my the beard. Yikes. Hat? Jansa van Rensburg says, did you manage to see the document the DA put on our website? I did not see the document. I'm aware of it. I also know that Ramon did a video, which I've not watched yet. This is the sort of thing that I want to give it a little time to air out and get people to get on the record for 24, 48 hours, because some people misstep, and then that will be part of the story. I want to see what people say and don't say. So I want to see the denials from the ANC, kind of like when the relief fund came out for small, medium enterprises. They put out the situation. They said, this is what's happening with it. And they put up on the page immediately, and they said, if you're not BEE certified, then you're not eligible for the relief money. And of course, thousands of people downloaded that from the site because they were trying to get relief money for their businesses at the very outset of this. And then the minister denied it and called it fake news. Fake news, it's your memo. It's an internal memo, which you put up as part of an application to apply for this relief. How is that fake news? My point is that I'm giving people a chance to put their foot in their mouth. And so I'm just giving it a day or two. So sometimes that happens. Bit of lag in the audio, Daryl said now. Well, that's interesting. That's twice now somebody said that. All right, what I'll do is after we're off this stream is I'll reboot this system, and hopefully that'll solve it. Okay. Conscious Caracal. Is Marabani going on there? I don't know. Marabani has said he'd like to come on here, so we'll figure that out. Our beards are about the same length. Yeah, I'm not accustomed to having a beard, guys. 36 and a half years in uniform. This is the first time I've been able to have one. And so it's just, this is my lockdown beard. So how do you like that? Anyway, right. So a few developments there. Let me go ahead and put this one up. If I can get this thing up just a second here. Come on, there you go. That's what I want. Get this back to, there you go. So Brazilian President Bolsonaro has tested positive for coronavirus, ladies and gentlemen. Yep. Everyone knew that it would reach a considerable part of the population sooner or later. It was positive for me, he said, referring to the test he took on Monday. So here it is. He already knows the results. Yep. As I mentioned, Brazil is an epicenter of this place now. Yep. CNN Brazil reported Monday that the president said he was showing symptoms consistent with the COVID-19, including a 38-degree fever. And on Tuesday, they said that his temperature was normal. Yep. He has derided coronavirus as just a little flu and previously appeared in public and at rallies without a mask, even hugging supporters. He has encouraged the country to reopen even as the number of cases rises, and he's criticized local government efforts to stamp out the virus through social distancing, such as quarantine and shelter-in-place orders. Brazil is second only to the United States in numbers of coronavirus infections and deaths. More than 65,000 people died of the virus in Brazil. Yeah, well, that's fiction because number one is China. But, of course, China lies, and they've been reporting fiction ever since the outset. So they're still stuck around 82,000 plus. And if you believe that, I have some lovely tropical land available to grow pineapples in the Northern Cape if you'd like to buy it. Right, so South Africa. Let's talk about South Africa, ladies and gentlemen. What is going on in South Africa with this virus? We listened to the National Coronavirus Command Council's representatives when they deigned to appear before the public to speak, and also to the president of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, who have consistently claimed that the Western Cape is the only place where this is actually happening in any significant numbers. The reality, which we always knew to be the case, is that the Western Cape was not going to be the epicenter of this. It's most likely it's going to be in Gauteng is where you're going to see the epicenter of this, or perhaps KZN, but most likely in Gauteng with the high density population, major metropolitan areas where people are in close contact and close quarters. And look at this, son of a gun, if we don't see that Gauteng has now nearly reached the Western Cape for confirmed cases of the virus. Now, if they only did more testing in Gauteng, they would be well past the Western Cape at this stage. Yeah. So as we slide down, you'll see that many provinces have virtually no cases. The Northern Cape with just 820. Of course, these are more thinly populated provinces. The Free State with 2,800. Northwest. Now, Northwest, that's a bit high from my perspective. 6,400 for Northwest. A bit surprising. KZN with a large population, but only 16,000 cases. As we go down this chart here, and we'll look at what events. So look at that. March, 1,353 cases, 5 deaths. April, 4,294 with 98. May, 27,000. These are new cases, not cumulative. 580 deaths. In June, 118,526 new cases, 1,974 deaths. And from June until July 6, in just 5-6 days, we had 54,512 new cases with 653 deaths in South Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, South Africa has surpassed 200,000 confirmed cases of COVID-19. And if you look at this map, you can see right there where the densities are. In Gauteng, in the Western Cape, and less so in the Eastern Cape, but nonetheless in the Eastern Cape. Interesting that. But that's not a huge surprise. Also, it's also misleading. If you look at the map of Western Cape with its borders, you're going to find that most of those cases are clustered in the greater Cape Town metropolitan area and not throughout the province. So it's misleading in that respect. This should be done on a metropolitan or locality basis. That's how the map should be done to give people better feel for how it is, because you don't magically go from the northern borders of Western Cape and into the Northern Cape province, and boom, you go from lots of people to no people. No, there's very few people that actually have it on those borders. This is a very misleading map. Yep, so there you go. All right, so, yep, the highest number in Africa by a wide margin, South Africa, 200,000 coronavirus cases at this point. Isn't that something? Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, so there you go. So that's just taking a look at the virus in Africa, or in South Africa, I should say, and the source was Al Jazeera. It's a pretty good graphic. I like the graphics they've used there. Set it up pretty well. And then, of course, Bolsonaro is tested positive. But as I said, not surprising, not at all surprising that would happen. He is his arguments about the virus are a bit more loose than mine are. I certainly encourage the social distancing and I encourage the good hygiene, but I've always encouraged good hygiene. Now, the social distancing, that's not something I've been a big encourager of throughout my life. I'm a big hugger. I like to shake hands. And people are trying to stop that kind of social interaction amongst Homo sapiens, but they will not succeed. We will go back to hugging. We'll go back to shaking hands at some point. Anyway, so yeah, so there you go. That's just a little bit of an update on what's happening around the world. And I've got a message coming in. Oh, there it is. Okay, I've seen it already. Good. Right. So other topics we can talk about today. It's interesting is we keep hearing the U.S. about poverty and about all this disparity and such. Well, the reality is that those who live in poverty, it's not an insignificant number of people who live in poverty in the United States, even in the most prosperous economy in the world, economy with a less than 4% unemployment, real unemployment, before the advent of this pandemic. So let me go back to this, and this is from Poverty USA. It's a nonprofit organization, and these are the figures that they give from government data. So amongst ethnic groups in America, breaking down by this fashion: Native American, Black, Hispanic, White, and Asian, bearing in mind that many Hispanics are considered to be white as well, so that's a confusing category. But nonetheless, the highest level of poverty by percentage-wise is 1 in 4 Native Americans lives in poverty. Now, the poverty level is set by the federal government. It's based on family size and income level. So I'd have to look up what the current figure is. I don't know it. It was pretty generous. The poverty level in America is more than 90% of the people on the planet actually make for family income. So it's an interesting figure to go with. But 25% of Native Americans live in poverty. 21% of Black Americans live in poverty. And it has a lot less to do with racial oppression than it has to do with family structure. Single-parent families are a major cause of poverty, especially single mother families raising children, and 78% of children born, Black children born in this country, are born to single parents. Single mothers who are not married and do not have a spouse in the house. And so that is a major contributor to that figure. Hispanics at 17.6%, and even 10% of white Americans. Of the 226 million white Americans, there are 26 million of them living in poverty. And even 10% of Asians, who stereotypically supposedly do better than other folks, we still see 10%. Now, why is that? Because there are a wide variety of folks that fall into the Asian category. Filipinos, Vietnamese, Koreans, Chinese, Japanese, Pacific Islanders, often lumped in with Asians. And so you get, from those different groups, you have very different levels of interaction and prosperity. But the Black population of America is around 45 million people, roughly, a little over 48 million people. Of that, 20% live in poverty. So that's just under 10 million Black Americans live in poverty. 10% of white Americans, which is 26 million, so well over twice, 2.5 times as many white Americans live in poverty than Black Americans in this country. Yet we're not hearing about oppression of whites. It's much more complicated than is made out by the pundits, and that's just a little frustrating. So I thought I'd share that with you guys very quickly, talk about that, because I brought that topic up. We were talking on the stream the other day. So let me catch up in the chat here and see what's going on. Janse van Rensburg points out Northwest has the mines. That's right. The platinum mines are up there and some high density areas. That's a good point. That's true. You're right, Hat. I I should have considered that more carefully in my thoughts. But most of the province is thinly populated. People are spread out, and farming is big up there, especially cattle ranching. But no, good point. That's a good point. Marabani, we're linked on LinkedIn. Did I realize that? I don't think I knew that, Marabani. Okay. And I don't think I have your email, so I'll have to. But how do I look for you? Okay. I don't think I know who you are on LinkedIn. I probably know who you are, but don't recognize Marabani with your name. So I do know your first name based on the conversation. But anyway, yeah, I'd feel that. Raptor Man says, I can't give Chris too much trouble for his beard because it'll come to my house and beat me up. That's funny. That's funny. Okay. And then what else we got here? What else we got here? So don't smash the like button. You'll break it. Nobody will be able to use it. Just tap the smash. Don't smash it. Tap it. Okay. Tree hugger. The whole reporting manner South Africa is flawed and keeps everyone in the dark. Well, it is as well here, Daryl. So we've talked about this before, but not recently. So let me give the example of the state of New York, or city of New York, actually. New York City, I'm not sure which it was, but it was a couple months ago, early when the virus was raging in New York, and they had 6,000 fatalities, which was a big chunk of those we had in the entire country at the time. We were less than 50,000 in the country at the time, as I recall. Overnight, New York reported from 6,300 to over 10,000 fatalities. When asked the question in the news conference, the answer was, well, what we're doing is we're including suspected COVID-19 cases. So if you're 95 years old, and you have stage 4 metastatic lung cancer, and you already had an underlying illness, and you already couldn't breathe, that reason, it's approximate cause, you die, they don't test you. They assume that you had COVID-19. Now, that's one of the problems, and that's been happening. Lots of people have been added to these death rolls who didn't die from COVID-19. There's no evidence of it. There's no proof of it. They were never tested. Or you have people who did get COVID-19, but COVID-19 is not the proximate cause of their death. It was just another condition they had. And for those who are genealogists and do family research and never looked at death certificates, like I have repeatedly, and paid attention to what actually happens when coroners and medical examiners report deaths, you'll often find that when people die, there are multiple things that they have ailments for. Type 2 diabetes, hypertension, high blood pressure. Some people have all of these things. And then they also say they turn up positive for COVID-19. Doesn't mean they died from it. Nonetheless, the authorities, for a few reasons. Number one, to cook the numbers and scare people. That's my first thesis on it. But number two, the reason they've done it is because they, in this country, think they can get more money from the federal government, which they're not entitled to, if they have a higher level of cases and if the situation seems more dire. So those two things play a big role in it. And number three, I just think there's some dishonest people out there that simply are using the hysteria for political gain. And so the higher the numbers are, the happier they are. I'm telling you that I know it's twisted, it's sick, but there are members sitting in the left side of the aisle who are giddy right now that the number of people have died and the situation and the economic carnage that's been wrought by foolish decisions by politicians has, in their view, weakened Donald Trump. And finally, they're going to get Orange Man bad. They couldn't fake the Russia collusion when the collusion was actually on their side. They couldn't fake it. They tried for 3 years. They cooked up a fake Ukrainian nonsense, even getting a serving military officer who was full of himself and quite pompous to testify in front of Congress about his views, as if his views mattered. His views mattered no more than my views mattered as a colonel. We did the same job in different parts of the world. But I didn't run around and tell Congress that the president didn't know what he was doing. Only I am the wise and informed individual, and he didn't listen to me, so he was treasonous. No, we actually had a serving officer who did that. Oh, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, in case you didn't know this, Tammy Duckworth, who's a combat injured veteran from Illinois, who's a senator in our Senate, has come out and publicly stated that she will ensure that the promotion list for 1,100 officers in the Army will be held up if anyone interferes with Alex Vindman's promotion. Seriously. Who does she think she is? The audacity to delay the promotion of officers who've been selected for promotion and only hold it for political purposes. By the way, it's not the first time. This happens frequently. It happens a lot with general officers, but this is not general officers. This is likely lieutenant colonels and colonels based on the numbers. I think it's probably the lieutenant colonels list, and or maybe the lieutenant colonels list and majors list, but not going to promote these 1,100 officers to a higher rank because she claims that someone is trying to promote or prevent Lieutenant Colonel Vindman from getting promoted to full colonel. I don't know if he's been selected by a promotion board. I don't know if he has a promotion number, and I don't really care. I frankly find it embarrassing that the man serves in uniform, and that's his attitude. But this senator from the U.S. Senate running around telling people that she's going to block promotions because of this political reason, that's just shameful. This has an impact on people's lives. It has an impact on their income. It has an impact on others waiting promotion behind them because if people don't get promoted, then people behind them can't get promoted to those positions. It has a knock-on effect, and it's shameful that she would do this. Also, it puts these Army officers at a disadvantage time and grade-wise to their peers in other services. If the Air Force and the Navy are allowed to continue with the promotion list, people who came in after these officers will be promoted before them and then outrank them when they wind up at a joint command. This is idiotic and moronic, but this is what politicians do, folks, all over the world. And some folks have left. Did you guys not like me talking about her? Out of sync. Yeah, what's going on? Jacques wants a call. Well, we're having trouble with the stream. I don't know why. Someone mentioned that yesterday, so I don't know what the deal is here, why that's happening. It shouldn't be the case. It is interesting why that's happening. Sorry about that, folks. It's kind of odd. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll cut this at 1 hour so that we don't have this sync thing going on. I noticed that with my video yesterday. Someone said it was out of sync. Others said it wasn't. I looked at it afterwards, and I did see that things were a little bit out of sync. Yeah. If someone else have to fight for your promotion, I believe you don't deserve it in the first place. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, everyone's saying there's a lag. Guys, yeah, if everybody's seeing the lag, then the problem is probably on my end. I don't know if it's a YouTube issue, but it's very distracting, folks. I realize that. So why don't I do this for a moment? I'll turn my camera off, and I'll put on more news over here, and we'll talk about news so you don't see my camera. All right, so I'm going to do that. Let me do that. This is really weird how this is happening. I don't understand why that's the case. Yeah, but it is lagging. All right, so give me a second here. I'm going to put another image up here for you guys. Let me just find something here that I want to put up. Yeah, here we go. I'll just go back to the infographic on South Africa, and I'll turn this camera off. Here we go. So sorry about this. I don't know what the deal is here. All right, so I'm up now, and there you go. Let me shut off my camera, okay, and see if the camera's the problem. Okay, so the camera's off right now, and I'm going to just shut it down and see if it is the problem, and maybe I can fix this. Someone said it doesn't bother them. I appreciate it doesn't bother you, but it kind of bothers me, actually. It's kind of annoying. So let me see if I can get this thing back up. Hopefully it's just a camera, and that's what the problem was. But give me just a moment, folks. ET is up to his nonsense. Yeah, well, I think maybe the folks at some national agency. Okay, that looks a little bit better on this end. Okay, right, let me turn it back on and see what we get now. Okay, so there you go. Is that better? Can you guys, it looks like it's a little bit, well, it was in sync, and then it kind of held up. Okay, so sorry about that. Mahaly'sburg's out of sync. Ha, ha, ha. Sky Greg T's just having fun. Okay, so having a go. Don't do that. People take you seriously. We actually think we have a technical fault here. Right. All right, let me catch up over here now. So relative poverty. Yeah, poverty is relative. You know, I lived in poverty in high school in Appalachia, but I don't compare that poverty to people living in Bangladesh. It's a very different situation. Yeah, I saw that variable vision. Roman's stream had some serious problems. He just like disappeared and then came back and disappeared. It was really weird. And it seemed like I was the first person to notice it. Erica says the lag doesn't bother her. Well, it disturbs me greatly. Anyway. Oh, Gareth says it didn't bother Gareth, but he was face down in chicken curry. Oh, now you're making me hungry. Jersey keeps everyone distracted like the Yankee stripes. Hey, okay, so it's working now. Thank you, Brew. The Brew is here. Right. Okay. Good. Well, we got the stream working again, so it seems to be doing the trick. Everybody's giving me a thumbs up. Thank you so much for that. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know why, but the camera did that. One funny thing with my Logitech, it came with a software update a few weeks back. And before the software update, there were settings in the Logitech camera that allowed me to set it for streaming and then another for recording. And that was because of the frames per second. But now it doesn't have that setting. It just went away with the newer software. Upgrades aren't always upgrades. That's kind of the problem. All right. What's my opinion on the Dakota protest, Kyle? Okay, are we talking about Mount Rushmore? Well, my opinion on that is that those people are so full of crap that their eyes are brown. Let me explain. Okay, the Lakota are angry that Mount Rushmore was used to carve these statues in the side of the mountain. They claim it's sacred ground. Only that's a lie. That's fiction. The Lakota stole that land from the Sioux, and the Sioux stole it from the Kiowa or someone like that. But anyway, the land has changed hands multiple times amongst different ethnic groups, tribes of Native Americans. So to claim that this is something that has been theirs into perpetuity is simply a myth. The land was taken in conquest from one group by another group by another group, and then finally by European or white Americans and the American government. So it doesn't hold a lot of water. And also, we don't see protests at Mount Rushmore every day for the past 50 years. Let me tell you this, folks. This is something I'll give credit for. Back in the 1970s and 80s, especially in the 80s, there were people who protested against American military bases in the United Kingdom. They took their caravans, they sat up outside these military bases like Lakenheath and other places, and that's what they did. They were there all the time to protest nuclear weapons, to protest militarization. And while I found them to be annoying, I had a lot of respect for their for their constitution, for their commitment. They were committed to this cause. It was something they took very seriously. They didn't stop these protests until after the bases started closing and U.S. troops were withdrawn and yada, yada, yada. But they did this for years. They were committed to their cause. This is not something people have been committed to. It's like the renaming the Washington Redskins. This only crops up when malcontents want to use an issue and they find someone on the edge who has an issue with the topic or with the name. Frankly, the Washington Redskins is a very complimentary name. It honors Native Americans. The Cleveland Indians, the same thing. The Atlanta Braves. Now, I will admit that Chief Wahoo is a bit colorful, and that's something that maybe somebody could take offense to. But calling a team the Atlanta Braves, you take offense to that? What if we had a team in Nebraska and we called them the Nebraska Comanches? Would that offend people because they're named after the Comanches? It's ludicrous, this nonsense. We've seen universities change their team names as a consequence of this. So the Miami Redskins changed their name to the Red Hawks now. No tradition there whatsoever. Anyway, just ludicrous. Ludicrous. Sure, I'm not using Huawei. No, I'm not using Huawei. It doesn't mean Huawei hasn't broken into my stream. That's for sure. It's funny. Yeah. Raymond E. says, hey, Raymond, says, I want to do the Appalachian Trail in 2022. People doing the hike refer Pennsylvania with the 2 R's, a lot of rock and roll. Yeah, this is the easy part of the Appalachian Trail, though. So if you want to take an easy path, then go through Pennsylvania because we have the bottom end of the, or not the bottom end, but the part of the Appalachians that have really been worn down over millions of years by erosion. And so our mountains are really just hills, although we call them mountains here in Pennsylvania, but they're really just hills. And it's quite easy. It's beautiful, though. The Appalachian Trail is lovely. I've been on the Appalachian Trail down in North Carolina, where it's really mountains in the western part of North Carolina, and hiked on that. It's amazing. It's beautiful. And it's quite well traversed. A lot of people do this. A lot of people do it. Yeah, Kyle, so that's kind of my view on the protests in Dakota. I think it's much ado hubbub about nothing. Not that it's not a legitimate issue for some people, but what's been going on. The Cheyenne. Maybe it was the Cheyenne they took it from. Let me see. Leonard Peltier. That name sounds very familiar. Kyle says it's seriously turbulent times. It is, in no small measure, because governments are failing in their primary responsibility, which is public order and safety. Governments are responsible for people being safe, whether it's domestic enemies or foreign enemies. Primary role of a government, the reason we form polities is to protect us. We didn't form polities to come up with sanctioned socialized health care or to put people on the moon or to do research on the internet. No. As humans, we banded together and we formed bands to protect ourselves against predators and against others who threatened us externally. And then we dealt with those internally who threatened the good of society. But we're seeing governments around the world abrogate their responsibility. This ludicrous mayor in the city of Seattle, Jenny Durkan. Seriously? That's insane. She encourages this lawlessness until her home is threatened. Once they threaten her home, oh, suddenly the gloves come off. It's time to order the police back in to end Chaz. Yeah, I keep calling it Chaz, not CHOP, because they made the mistake of declaring it an autonomous zone, which means they were guilty of sedition and insurrection and should be prosecuted for such actions. Yeah, so these people have abandoned, abrogated the rule of law and not done their job. And they've allowed this consequence to happen. And that includes federal authorities who've allowed people to enter federal land and damage federal property. I saw the video of this woman, this arrogant sack of cock, filming from her phone in her car, and these women were trying to remove paint that had been sprayed on the Veterans Administration building in Washington, D.C. Federal property, the people's property, the Veterans Administration, which provides services to millions, tens of millions of veterans. It doesn't give it to white veterans or to Asian veterans or Hispanic veterans. It provides services to all veterans. And every ethnic group has served this country, even the Japanese Americans whose families were interned in the Second World War. They volunteered in large numbers. People support and defend this nation because it's great and it stands for something. Someone painted Black Lives Matter on the Veterans Administration. That's a crime. It's a federal crime. It was a federal crime before Trump ever issued this recent executive order. It is something that should be punished. So these women were trying to remove the paint. And this woman comes up, "What are y'all doing?" Well, we're trying to remove the paint. "Oh, so black lives don't matter to you?" Excuse me? Anyway, so yeah, this is what happens when governments abrogate their responsibility. People damage things. And the federal government is just as much to blame. So does that mean Trump bears responsibility? Yeah, Trump does bear responsibility for some of the things that happen on federal property. Not for what happens in Seattle, not for what happens in the state of Washington, not for what happens in Minneapolis for darn sure, or with local and state police departments. He has no control over those. It's a federal system. But when it comes to federal property, he has federal law enforcement and he has the military at his disposal. And he doesn't need the Insurrection Act to protect federal property. So yeah, while I've been generous to Trump about being his slow response to some of this, I'm not entirely giving him a free pass. Would you like to talk about the Deputy Shadow Minister of Communications in South Africa? How so, Jacques? What's up with that? The Porcupine Mountains in Michigan, you won't be disappointed. I've been in Michigan, but I don't remember any mountains. It was all flat. You may be in the Upper Peninsula. It was all flat in the center there, out in the Osalbo River. Interesting. Kyle will do it with a large group. Okay. Brew likes to hike the mountains with your Hilux. Okay. Yeah. Sack of cock. That's right. Hashtag. Something's insulting for Lynn. The Brew, who had a loss? I'm sorry. Somebody had a loss. Very Since I saw that, I really wonder about society since there's such a massive chasm in value systems. There is. And I blame it on people who've raised children. That's right. It's your fault. If you've raised these impetulant, these spoiled, whiny little brats who know nothing about oppression, who've never suffered oppression, running around with their iPhones, jumping in their BMWs and their Chevrolets that mommy and daddy bought for them so they can go back to American University or back to Georgetown and it's $80,000 a year in tuition and Ivy League schools and complain and rant about things that are simply untrue and topple statues of Frederick Douglass? Are you high? Frederick Douglass? Ladies and gentlemen, as I've said from the outset, this has very little to do with the death of George Floyd. It only did for within 48 to 72 hours. Since then, this has just been a political game that's being played by malcontents and people intent on destroying civil order. That's the truth. And they should be treated as such. They're committing crimes, and they should be dealt with based on the existing crimes on the books that they're violating. It's about time for leaders to step up and deal with this across the United States, across the world. Absolutely. Utter nonsense. Utter nonsense. Cannot be tolerated. But it is being tolerated, and that's part of the problem. Do you have Bigfoot hunts in Pennsylvania like ghost trails at the Cape Town Castle? I'm not sure what that means, Doc Breaker. I'm confused. Okay. So many other ideologies that just... That's right, because it's not Black Lives Matter. It's not about that at all. That's a smokescreen. And people use that, and they'll try to demean you by saying, "Oh, you just don't believe that Black Lives Matter." No. It's kind of like the same, binary responses. See, here you go, ladies and gentlemen. Let me let you in on a little secret here if you don't know it already. This is all about binary responses. Everything is white, everything is black. Wait. That's racist. No. Everything is right, everything is wrong. Wait a second. That's politically. That's right, not left. Okay. There's good and bad. Let's go with that. There's good and bad. No, it's not that way, ladies and gentlemen. So, for instance, when the video footage came out about George Floyd and that officer had his knee on the guy's neck for several minutes and he screamed he couldn't breathe, and then he died in police custody. Please show me the name. Give me a list of all the people in office or in the public who said, good, that guy deserved that. He was resisting arrest. He got what he deserved. I don't know anyone that said that. Every person I know, everything I've ever read, everything I've ever watched, people were repulsed by it. And people said he should be captured, he should be charged, he should be tried for that crime. And guess what? He was, in very short order. A warrant went out for his arrest. He was released from the police, dismissed for conduct, almost instantly, without even an investigation into the crime, just based on that video footage. That is not correct. He should have been suspended and then investigated. But anyway, that's quibbling. He was fired. He was charged with homicide. He hid. They found him. They arrested him. They put him in jail without bail. Everyone's entitled to reasonable bail in this country. That's in the Constitution. But he was considered such a threat that he did not get bail, which a judge can make that determination. So that happened. But if you say that the protests are inappropriate because people could spread the virus, you're a bigot and a racist because clearly you don't support Black Lives Matter. What? No, not at all. That's insane. But it has to be this or the other. And it's the same thing in South Africa. You see this all the time. I find it refreshing to find people who pop onto different channels. And like the other day on Ronaldo Host's program, I saw someone who popped on there who said that, I'm glad I watched this stream with John Steenhuisen because before I ever started watching his channel, I thought that EFF was the best party ever and that white people were just racist. Well, first off, I'm like just astounded to hear that. I'm not really astounded because I know how the world works. I know how people are inculcated with hatred, bile, bigotry, and racism by the community around them and or their parents. So I wasn't surprised. But it was refreshing to see this person say, I got on here, I listened to this, and now I'm like, oh, okay, that's not really how people are. Well, it's good to see someone learn not to judge a group of people based on lies told about them by someone else. Rather, you should judge those people individually by their conduct and the content of their character. And that's what matters. Whether they're white, black, brown, blue, green, purple, red, or orange, it doesn't really matter. You should judge people based on the content of the character and their actions. That's how you should judge people. Not based on what you or I believe is their intent. Now, if you're making decisions, you do have to make decisions based on what you believe someone's intent is. And that's your prerogative. And that's smart. That's why our species survived. Is it smart to leave the cave now? No, because a saber-toothed cat's still outside the cave and we'll just get eaten. Good decision. Risk assessment. But when you treat people and you address people, you shouldn't do it based on what others tell you. You should do it based on what you know from your own experience. And that's how people should treat things in life. Anyway, that's just kind of where I'm at. But so really frustrating to see people hoodwinked by others. All right, so it was nice to see that gentleman say that, though, on the channel. Another person was shot on Saturday by the Sandef. I didn't see that, Skulk. Well, was that in the newspapers, or do you know that because you know somebody? Oh, now there's a cool name. Casper van der Westhuizen. That is a cool name. That's a Hollywood name, like Casper Van Diem. Casper van der Westhuizen. I love it, Casper. Awesome. Snowflakes never got a good hiding. Yeah, that's exactly right. Spare the rod and spoil the world. That's exactly what happened. No, I'm not calling for beating your children. Come on, be realistic. That's just silly. It's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is proper discipline. And proper discipline doesn't just come with spanking a child, especially if they got nappies on. They don't feel anything. You got to get that bare hide. No, I'm not talking about spanking a child. I'm talking about discipline. Disciplining can be verbal. Discipline can be taking away rewards. But when you spoil children or you don't even parent and let them run off and be parented by video games, sorry gamers, video games, or by television, sorry Hollywood, not really, or by their peers, then you get what we got today. And that's what's happening. Janse van Rensburg says, found it ironic when a Black Lives Matter protester got shot in Chaz. Want assistance to sue the police for not. Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. DL Freighter says so many parallels to the Weather Underground. And the Black Panthers back then with Angela Davis and others. A lot of parallels. It's interesting that in the 1960s, the United States, the FBI and the military intelligence, in particular the U.S. Army intelligence, were deeply involved in investigating groups like Students for Democratic Society, Martin Luther King, the Civil Rights Movement, Black Lives Matter, the Weather Underground. They got deeply involved in those. In fact, in some of those organizations, you go to meetings and there were more government agents from different agencies than there were actually, radicals in the group. Yet today, the Federal Bureau of Investigation is caught completely flat-footed in what I now consider to be the single greatest intelligence failure of the 21st century. No, not 9/11. That was by design. The government intentionally prevented intelligence analysts and officials from cooperating effectively, and also lacked the vision and forethought to think about what could happen, despite the fact that Hollywood had told us all about it. There was a movie. There was a Kurt Russell movie. That's right. Was it Executive Decision? Is that the one? Trying to remember. Anyway, it was my favorite movie with Steven Seagal. He got killed in the first 5 minutes. Awesome. He was out of the film in 5 minutes. But so this is the greatest intelligence failure of the 21st century thus far. The fact that the Federal Bureau of Investigation and state intelligence agencies for police services did not know that there was a coordinated, orchestrated, armed insurrection that was executed within days of George Floyd's death, using that excuse. And none of these analysts apparently were telling leaders in D.C. that the country is fractious because of the lockdown and people are pent up frustration and anger. People have lost their jobs. They're angry. Others can't go out. They're on social media and they're just spreading the bile around. This is going to create a toxic environment that will take just a single thing to torch and set it all off. Well, gee, I suspect that there were intelligence analysts in our intelligence community who did make those analysis, but people didn't listen to them. And here we are. So here's our intelligence failure. Now, this is the same Federal Bureau of Investigation that has no difficulty whatsoever in lying. It's senior officials, by the way, lying about a Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act warrant, a FISA warrant, to surveil an honest, non-criminal, loyal patriot in Carter Page. Is that his name? Carter Page? Yeah, I always get his name wrong. So they go after him. They get an unlawful warrant once, 2, 3, 4 times, fruit of the poisonous tree. And then they use that for the basis to start a phony investigation to go after the Trump administration, to go after it when it was the incoming administration, and cook up an entire fantasy. They devote countless hours and resources to that. Yet they know nothing about Black Lives Matter and Antifa. Antifa, a domestic terrorist organization, belatedly identified as one about 7 years too late, but now identified as domestic terrorist organization. And why is that distinction important, ladies and gentlemen? Because the federal government cannot just roll into your neighborhood and start doing surveillance and checking things and arresting people unless it's tied to federal crimes. Terrorism is a federal crime. Hence, the designation of that group as a terrorist organization now allows the federal government to have much more leeway in what it does as far as investigations and in surveilling, tracking, financing, and getting after the sources of money for these terrorists. But before that, they didn't have that ability because it wasn't declared a terrorist organization. So their resources were limited, their legal responses were limited. But now the gloves are off. But that's a bit late. Frankly, I think that the Trump administration should have done it the day they came in office. And they should have done the same thing with Antifa. Antifa, the ironically named anti-fascist, are the most fascist organization on the planet since the brown shirts in the 1930s for the National Socialist Party in Germany. No doubt about it. What is their modus operandi? They destroy things. They burn books. They beat people in the streets. They hide their faces because they're cowards. That's not anti-fascism. That is fascism. The irony is just unbelievable. Anyway, let's get away from that topic. Y'all need to reintroduce the Sunbuck. Yeah. Okay. Oh, okay. Thank you, Daryl Crouch. Assuming that's, I'll look up on LinkedIn and find him on there. I know his first name. Thank you for that. All right. Okay. And then They use Vietnam to cause chaos the same way they're doing with the police, and the goal is to destroy social fabric. Yeah, talk about a lucky set of circumstances for these radicals in the 1960s. Vietnam fell in their lap. And actually, they didn't even realize Vietnam was in their lap. Not until Tet in 68. Tet happened. It all just was a perfect storm for them, and they undermined this country left and right. And we went on a glide path of decline from 1968 until 1983. It wasn't until 83 that Reagan was able to restore the luster to this country, and we're back on the right path 3 years after he came in office, although he tried. Epstein's wife, girlfriend, spilling any beans. Haven't heard about that yet. Let's make sure she doesn't have an accidental disappearance or death. Yep. All right. Kids, rule number 1. First you work, then you play. Rule number 2, you get what you get, and you don't get upset even if it's... Yeah, I love that, Gareth. That's the way it should be. Yep. Now look at the world chaos. Yep. Want to see Afrikaners fight each other? Put a 4x4 between them and watch them fight, or which by 4x4 is better. Cheers, Daryl. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. A lot of these young people might regret their behavior for years now from when they have good jobs. Well, they may not have good jobs, right? That's the whole point. Look at this whiny little, recent graduate from, was it Yale or whatever? The Asian American lady who big crocodile tears because Trump supporters got her fired. It's so unfair. I worked so hard for this job. Only she didn't have a job. She wasn't an employee of Deloitte. But wait, she claims MAGA supporters got her fired. This woman made a video making terroristic threats against white Americans. 226 million people. Which army is going to back her up against 226 million people, by the way? That's my first question. That's pretty ballsy of her to say this. I'll cut you. I'll cut you. Yeah, that's what she did. She made terroristic threats against people. And then she posted it online. And then she's angry that people spread it around. Isn't that the reason for putting online? You don't put things online just for the sake, unless you put it in encrypted, if it's your bank data that's hidden. You don't put things in the public space on social media so that people don't watch it, that people don't share it. That's the whole purpose of social media. But of course, she was released from her summer internship, her 2-week summer internship, because she violated the Code of Conduct and Standards of Deloitte, which does not allow employees to make terroristic threats. Gee, imagine that. That seems like a reasonable policy. And so she turns it into a big pity party because she got fired because of MAGA sports. No, you never had a job, you lying sack of cock. You were an intern. You lost your internship because you're a violent, disrespectful, bigoted, racist, ranting person. And that's what happens to you. When you attack people based on their skin color, what else are you? A nanny? No. Anyway. So she got herself fired from an internship, not a job, and then she went on a pity party. Woe is me, woe is me, woe is me, woe is me. No. And she's the perfect example of what's going to happen to folks. Now, by the same token, I feel really badly for the 250,000 South Africans, a large percentage of them are minorities, but not exclusively, who were arrested during the lockdown in South Africa. Of course, the Minister of Injustice, Rodney Lamola, the Minister of Injustice, is all happy about that. And yeah, so we arrested 230,000 people. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, you're happy that you criminalized normal conduct by 250,000 South Africans, potentially resulting in a criminal record, which will make it difficult, if not impossible, for them to travel abroad for business purposes, to get hired for a job, because when they get hired for a job, they have a criminal record. No one bothers to take the time to look and say, oh, this was a fraudulent charge by a fraudulent, overreaching, totalitarian government which applied this to you. No, people don't look at that. If you try to come to America and apply for a visa, have you ever been charged or convicted of a crime? Yes. Oh, sorry, no visa for you. No immigration for you. Yeah, so it's not just people who misbehave. It's actually law-abiding citizens who are mistreated or maltreated by their government, and that's what's happened in South Africa. Tian says they have not criminalized anybody as the courts refuse to hear the lockdown cases. Well, Tian, I find that to be a statement that I have a little difficulty taking credibility with, because many of these people have court cases that were set for August. We haven't reached August. So how can you say that the courts have refused to hear it? Have all the courts in South Africa come out, or has the court system come out and said that we refuse to hear any cases until we hear the outcome of the constitutionality of this? I haven't seen that. So I will see what happens. Jacques says, check my LinkedIn. I'll do that, Jacques. Thank you. Only those signed admission of guilt to the police. Well, okay, great. So if they signed an admission of guilt, then they're criminals for doing something that wasn't criminal. There was no law passed by the legislature, the parliament, criminalizing sitting on a beach or standing in your property with your child. There's no law against that. That was a decision taken by the National Coronavirus Command Council, a body whose actions are under question, under scrutiny, whether they've been lawful to begin with, and many of their actions have been deemed unlawful by the courts. Anyway, so yeah, we'll see what happens to South Africans. And exactly, so people are dragged away and stuck in armored vehicles and dragged off to police station where police officers are not wearing protective masks, putting their health in jeopardy and their infants' health in jeopardy, and they're threatened and locked up for hours and hours and hours on end, 7 hours in the case of a couple with a small toddler. And they refused permission to call someone to come and collect the toddler because they're told that person will be locked up too for coming to the police station. And then they signed admission of guilt under those conditions? Come on. That's not even logical. Anyway, sorry. Anton, I'm sorry to hear that you got retrenched. Oh, that's really sad. That's unfortunate. Courts do delay matters. That's true. That's the other thing. So if you have a court case that's scheduled for August and it gets delayed, how long does this hang over your head that you've been charged with a crime? Well, you didn't do anything wrong. I mean, look, South Africa doesn't even bother to prosecute rapists, let alone arrest rapists, prosecute them, try them, convict them. It's so rare. Yes, I know some people do. That girl must be schizo or bipolar. No, she's privileged and spoiled, Marius. The woman's not even black. She's Asian, and she's running around complaining about, white oppression, and she's attacking white people. She's not even black. What is her point? And as I've said before, most of the people doing this in this country aren't even black. They're mostly malcontented white people running around spreading fictitious stories about America and lying. A lot of black Americans are embarrassed by this. Black Lives Matter is angry because people are co-opting their narrative. Black Lives Matter leaders have come out repeatedly and said, these people don't speak for us. Who do they think they are? They're not part of Black Lives Matter. There's a lot of stuff going on here, and I blame the politicians who are responsible for allowing this to metastasize and allowing this to happen. And people like to talk about the caustic political environment in the United States, including Mmusi Maimane, and I take issue with that. But on this point, I will agree with Mmusi Maimane that there is a caustic situation here. It's a consequence of the behavior of the Democratic Party since Hillary Clinton lost the election in 2016. Ever since then, they've been in full temper tantrum mode. Everything has been done to undermine and destroy this country, not just this president, but this country. They damage our foreign policy with outright lies. Nancy Pelosi, as a member of Congress, published a letter a few months ago in which she lied to the world. Lied. And I called her out on it. She just blatantly lied. Not a mistake, not an error, a lie. She claimed that Trump banned 350 million people from coming to America. Simply a lie. An absolute lie. And this had everything to do with the fact that countries that refuse to comply with international standards for biometric data and for verification of passport applicants, like Nigeria and some of the crazy stands, they refuse to do it 15 years after it's become the international norm. They've been asked, they've been pleaded with, they've been cajoled, they've been bribed with aid, yet they refuse to do it. Trump said enough. We're done with this. If you don't fix your passport system, Nigeria and several other countries, we will no longer allow people from your country to immigrate to America because you are not proving the provenance of those people and confirming their identities. So if you don't know who they are, we don't know who they are. How can we trust letting those people come to this country? Now, why did this happen? Because some guy from Kyrgyzstan, I think it was not Kyrgyzstan or Kazakhstan, from Kazakhstan came here on a visa lottery, went to New York, and he sponsored like 20 people from his family to come here. And the guy was a terrorist. He killed people. Because their passport system can't verify who people are. And we trusted that because we allowed an exception. Well, Trump said no more exceptions. So Nancy Pelosi comes out and lies and says 350 million people are now banned. And how did she come with the figure? Well, she took the population of Nigeria, 200 million. She took the population of these other countries and said, yeah, it's racist. It's all about race. Trump is a racist, and he's preventing 350 million people coming to this country because he's afraid of brown people. Okay, first off, lies, 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 lies. Liar, liar, pants on fire. Pinocchio, your nose is growing out to here, Nancy Pelosi. The ban was a ban not on travelers from Nigeria. This is before COVID. Any Nigerian who could normally get a visa to come here for business, for school, for to visit family, or for tourism can still get a visa. This is before the travel ban now. That's unrelated. You could still come here. The people that couldn't come here is people from that country who, by the way, want to abandon that country to come to America to become Americans, but we can't confirm who they actually are. So until Nigeria fixes that, the deal was they can't come here. It affected less than 30,000 people globally, not 350 million people. That's the number of people that came from Nigeria and all those other countries and migrated here to the United States to become Americans. Not 350 million people. And oh, by the way, the same day that Nigeria was put on the list, Chad, a black African, predominantly Muslim country, was taken off the list because Chad met the standards, which they previously had failed to do. So how is it racist to deny people whose governments refuse to adhere to international standards for passport conditions, particularly in light of 9/11, which changed the dynamic for immigration and for processing through borders around the world? How is it racist to tell those people that they can't immigrate here when we don't know who they are, yet we let Chad, a black African Muslim country, come in? You see the logic here? You see the lies that politicians tell on a daily basis? And they don't care the harm it does to our reputation or to our foreign policy. They don't care because they're reprobates. They're shameful people. And that's what we're talking about here. Shameful, shameful people whose personal aggrandizement is far more important than the governance and the safety and security of 330 million people. And by the same token, I could extend this to the 58 million people in South Africa because the African National Congress does the exact same pandering and lying to its population. And there you have it, folks. Let me see what I've missed here in the chat before we get to the end. I'm going to wrap up here before too long. All right, so smuggling food relief packages. Kyle says the growth of the channel is amazing. Been with Chris since day one. It is growing pretty fast, but we've been a little slow the last week or so. So please share it with your friends, your family. Let them know about it. Let me take down the members goal here because nobody's signing up right now. Most people here are either members or aren't able to join it. So let me take it down because that just looks like e-begging by leaving it up there. I was just having fun with it earlier. But the last week or so has been kind of weird. We hit 4,200 today, and then I looked a little bit later. It was I got a screen capture. It was 4,199. Then I just checked in my videos, 4,198, 197, 196, and it was back to 197. So it's weird stuff going on here. I think trolls are signing up and then unsigning, and so the numbers play funny. Yeah, people got arrested for giving food to people who were starving. They were criminalized for that behavior. Not because they didn't maintain social distance, because they left their homes to take food to poor people who were hungry. The government wasn't delivering food. Somebody had to do something. That's despicable. Despicable. Blakeman says, I don't think I'd worry too much, Chris. The left have doubled down. We'll probably lose everything soon. I don't really have any. Well, I hope you're right, Blakeman, but I don't know. I mean, we never should have seen this rise. The problem is that the world was too complacent. Now, not the world, but the United States, less than 4% unemployment. That is essentially full employment. Nobody was in need of a job who wanted a job. And wealth disparity was declining. Black income, family income was increasing more rapidly than anyone else in this country. And the gap was closing between the haves and have-nots, the gap that did exist. Under Trump, not under Barack Obama. It got worse. We threw 12 million people onto food stamps because they couldn't feed their families under Obama. Then we took 8 million off of them. 8 million came off of food stamps under Trump. And the left says, oh, look, they're so selfish and mean and racist. They've taken people off food stamps. No, they no longer qualify for them because they've improved their station. Their life is better. Idiots. Anyway, we lost our visa-free status in numerous places because our passport wasn't secure enough, painful, but who can complain about it? That's right, Gareth. That's exactly right. And that's what happened with this situation that Nancy Pelosi is lying about. And Mario says, agree, spoiled to the core. Okay, folks, very quickly, Johan Jacobs, you're coming in late. Well, in lockdown 5, I was almost arrested for giving food to a child because he was hungry. Ridiculous how you can stand by and let a child go hungry. Exactly, Casper. Exactly, and that's what I'm talking about. Okay, folks, I'm gonna close up here in just a few more minutes. So let me cover a few things. So I'll be back on at 9 p.m. in South Africa and in Botswana, which is 3 p.m., about an hour and a half from now, with my guest, Marlies, famous for the video where she runs into a goalpost. We'll talk to her about instant celebrity and things like that. So back on 9 p.m. tonight in Botswana, South Africa, 8 p.m. in Namibia, because I know some Namibians are watching this. So come back in for that. It should be interesting. And in addition to that, I have a stream scheduled for tomorrow with Nadine, the famous South African Afrikaans singer. It might be in jeopardy right now. I'll give you updates and let you know. And if it does get pushed to the side, I apologize in advance. I don't have control over that. You know, working with artists and musicians, sometimes there's scheduling conflicts. So we had a commitment, but I don't know if it's going to happen at this point. So if it doesn't happen, my apologies, and I'll get it rescheduled. But anyway, so I did want to tell folks, thank you so much for tuning into this stream. Really appreciate it. It looks like people enjoy this time a little bit better. So I'll consider doing a stream at this time every day during lockdown anyway. We'll see where it goes from there. Anyway, so Kyle says great stream, and he's using a bunch of my by the way, those icons that Kyle is using, those are for members. You can get those from members. Yeah, I know you can probably find some of them online, but anyway. Ranger Jake says, see you a little bit later. Ina says, thank you. All right, folks, I'm going to close out as I always do, just because I love to get a copyright claim with Giselle Pleckendizona. And for those who are able to make it, I'll see you in a little while as we get Marlies on here. I'm going to hang up now, and I'm going to go touch base and give her a call and coordinate our discussion a little bit later. So God bless. Be safe out there wherever you find yourself around the world. And thank you for tuning in to Indaba Africa. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Where is that? Right there. Subscribe. It doesn't cost anything. All right. And if you're inclined, you're welcome to become a member as well. Thank you so much for your patronage, folks, and we'll catch you in a little bit.
Voel jy of jy maar net bestaan? Voel jy asof die lewe sonder jou aangaan eendag? Wat ek sonder twyfel weet, jy is nie net 'n nommer nie, en jy is deel van die groter prentjie. Daar's rede dat jy lewe, 'n doel vir jou bestaan.